So I guess can you give me an example of some of the stuff that you said you worked out over the summer when it was more topical? Like what's something that you would talk about and how you made it not like I'm right, you're wrong. Especially some of the stuff that was going on in the past year and two.
Yeah.
Some of the craziness stuff that we have seen. Can you give me an example of something that you touched on and how you made it not a um, I'm right, you're wrong issue, but here's my standpoint issue.
Yeah, I was doing a bit about the police violence in George Floyd. I was trying to explain, like, you know, the differences between like how black people and white people deal with the police.
Mm-hmm.
And I wasn't, there's a simple joke that anybody could do, which is that here's how the police treat black people when it's bad and they treat white people differently.
Mm-hmm.
So the bit that I did instead, where I was like, well, there's a bad relationship between the police and black communities, and it makes these incidents, they're explosive. They're what's the word I'm looking? Not explosive, but they have a potential for explosion. There's a word I'm thinking of, but I can't think. But it's because what's the word? What I was trying to think of. I'm trying to think of what the bit I was thinking of. Like, my experience with, like, I was thinking about my experience with the police. When I'm getting pulled over by the police, I don't have a problem. Because I talk to the police like they've saved me. I'm like, oh, thank you. You just they got an attitude problem.
Yeah.
All police do. That's how they got that job. And you have to talk to them in a way that doesn't, set off the tinderbox with their personality.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of black people, especially black people from the hood, don't talk to people like that. They don't fucking mince words, and they're not careful like that. So now you got two people who are combustible coming together in a very volatile situation. And so the bit I was talking about was like, I was kind of comparing. I was like, well, I was saying, like, if a white guy shoots up a school, he'll come outside, he'll see the police, and he'll be like, oh, the police are here. Hi, police. And he'll be like, and, they'll be like, you're under arrest. And he's like, oh, I understand. And he'll turn. But he just shot up the school.
Yeah.
But all of a sudden he sees the police and he's like, oh, those are my friends.
Yeah.
But I was like, a black guy could get pulled over for running a stop sign, and the police were like, can I see your registration? And he's like, why are you always fucking with me? And it's like, it's like, with black people in the police, situations that are not that serious can end up blowing up out of proportion.
Okay.
And with white people in the police, situations that are very serious can end up being dealt with very calmly. It has nothing to do with who that person is or what they've done. It has to do with the relationship between those communities.
That's I like the joke, and it's and like what I'm getting from that is you're almost what, I guess, let me ask you, what do other comics say about that? I've heard that joke, especially other black comics. What do they say about when they hear that?
I've never heard anything from anyone about it.
Okay, because what it comes off to me is like, I'm trying to think like, because you're almost making it. It sounds like you're very much disarming white people with that. Like, you're almost like that. Like, black people in the hood are already violent. Like, you're already, and white people might be like, oh, I can see that. And it's like, oh, the white guy who just shot the school, yeah, he's crazy, but he's always good with the police. Blue lives matter. We're on board. And this, do you feel, is that actually how you feel, or do you feel that most black people get a raw deal when it comes to the police?
I'm just trying to talk about the situation realistically as I see it.
Yeah.
I can lie and say what other people say, which is that, oh, the police are just beating up on black people for no reason. I'm like, no, there's a bad relationship. And that relationship comes from Like, people look at the police shootings of black people by the police and they think that's the problem. I'm like, no, that is a symptom.
Yeah.
It's a symptom of the issues of abuse that those communities deal with from the government and from the police holistically. When they did a study on Ferguson, Missouri, which is where the Michael Brown thing happened, they found out that the police department in that town was basically preying financially on that community with fines and arresting people for petty things. And that was happening all the time. So when the Michael Brown thing happens, it's like finally the community is like, here's something that we can come after the police on.
Yeah.
Because nobody's going to care if we go to City Hall and say, hey, we have a problem with all these tickets and all these fines and how people are being dealt with who are on probation or parole, and how child support is being dealt with, how we're being talked to in family court, how DSS is dealing with our children, how our children are being dealt with the disciplinary system in the public schools. You can't put that on CNN.
Yeah.
They're not going to put that trial on. So it's like a flashpoint. So the bad relationship is because of a lot of small things. Now, a lot of Republicans and conservatives will say that, like, oh, well, they're complaining about nothing because, George Floyd was on drugs, or Trayvon Martin was violent, or I'm like, but that's not what the problem is, but it's like that's what people feel like they have to focus on because that's what the media focuses on.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
The real problem is how people are treated in those communities every day.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
So then when something like George Floyd and Michael Brown happens, everybody focuses on that because they know they can get traction out of it.
Yeah. Huh. That's well said. I like that.